So in the last class we had completed the first unit. Now let us start with the second unit and let us understand pricing under perfect competition conditions. Now first let us understand about pure competition. Firstly meaning and features, then features of perfect competition, then price determination in perfect competition, equilibrium of firm and industry in short run and long run. So we are going to study about all these concepts in this chapter. So now let us start. Firstly, we have introduction. The theory of demand provides an explanation of the consumer's behavior in order to deduce the demand for a commodity. Similarly, the theory of firm explains the goals and objectives of a firm. Though the behavior of firm and together enable us to ascertain the price and output of a commodity or service by the free interplay of the forces of demand and supply in the market. The nature of the demand curve and the price output business decisions depend upon the type of the market in which the commodity is produced and sold. In economics, the term market does not refer to any particular in which things are bought and sold to be a set of conditions in which buyers and sellers interact with one another for the purpose of exchange at a agreed price. So now what do we understand by this? That the demand for different producers is different according to their utility. So in pure competition, we will be understanding about how buyers and sellers interact with each other for purpose of exchange of goods and services. So let us understand. The important elements of a market are discussed below. Nature of the products, which is being bought and sold in the market at price mutually agreeable to both. The closer the substitutes available for a product, the greater is the competition in the market. Number of firms, size of the industry. So what are the important features? Firstly, we have nature of the product, which is being bought and sold in the market at a price mutually agreeable to both. The closer the substitutes available for a product, the greater is the competition in the market. Then number of firms or the size of the industry. Then existence of competition among the buyers and sellers as a result of an increase in their number. Competition among the buyers rises the prices, while competition among the sellers results in a fall in the price. Awareness and mobility, positivity affect the competition in the market. Free communication between the buyers and the sellers so that the price between different buyers and sellers is the same. The place where the commodity is traded can be a certain city or region or a country or even in the world. The government policies about liberalization, price control, location of production, choice of technology, taxes, subsidies, foreign trade and policies, etc. So there are many features such as first is nature of product, how the product is being sold, then how many number of firms exist, then existence of competition, how many buyers and sellers are there and which will increase the number of competition in the market, then free communication, as buyers and sellers get a free communication, price between the different buyers and sellers is the same. The place where a commodity is traded, it is called as a market, or it is to be a certain city or region or a country or even the world. Government policies about liberalization, price control, location of production, choice of technology, taxes, subsidies, foreign trade policies are some of the basic features or important elements of a market. Now, next we shall be studying markets can be classified on the basis of area as local and national and world markets, on the basis of time as market price on any particular day or moment, short period price, long period price or schedule or say secular markets, on the basis of nature of competition obtaining therein as perfect markets and imperfect markets. Market forms or market structures. In discussing market structures, we concentrate on the third basis of classification mentioned above. The popular basis of classifying Market structure rests on two crucial elements: the number of firms producing a product, the nature of the product produced by the firms, that is, whether it is a homogeneous or differentiated. A distinguished feature of different market categories is the degree of price elasticity of demand faced by an individual firm. So, markets can be classified firstly, either it is an area market, it is a local, national or world market. Then on time as market price, then short period price, long period price or secular markets. On the basis of nature of competition, obtaining as perfect markets and imperfect markets. Market forms or market structures. In discussing the market structures, we concentrate on the third basis of classification mentioned above. Now let us understand about the crucial elements. Firstly, we have number of firms producing a product. So as we see in the market that for every brand we have a variety of products available and variety of people selling them. So the price is different for every product and depending upon the brand. Then the nature of the product by the firms, that is whether it is homogeneous or differentiated product. So this also makes a difference. Now let us understand about classification of market forms. Now, so firstly we have form of market structure, number of firms, then nature of product, then the P for an individual firm, degree of control over price. So let us understand, if it is a perfect competition or a pure competition, there are a large number of firms, then a homogeneous product, then the curve shall be infinite, individual firm, then degree of control shall be none. Then imperfect competition, in that we have firstly monopolistic competition, in which we shall have a large number of firms. Then differentiated products, close substitute of each other. Then P for individual firm shall be large, and the degree of control shall be sum. Then next we have duopoly, pure or differentiated, two homogeneous or differentiated, low and some products. Then pure oligopoly, no product differentiation, few firms, homogeneous product, small and some. Differentiated monopoly, few firms, differentiated products, close substitute, small and large. Monopoly, one unique product without close substitute, very small or very large. So from this table we can understand perfect competition and monopoly are two extremes of the market situation. Monopolistic competition and oligopoly fall in between these two extremes. So now let us understand about pure competition. Pure competition is said to exist when the following conditions are fulfilled. Firstly, we have large number of buyers and sellers. Presence of a large number of buyers and seller prevents any single producer or buyer to wield an influence in the market. The output of any single firm is only a small portion of the total output, and the demand of any particular purchaser is only a small part of the market. Hence, market price is to be taken as given and unalterable by every purchaser and seller. Thus, no individual purchaser can influence the market price by varying his own demand, and no single firm is in position to affect the market price of varying its output. Therefore, every firm is a price taker, not a price maker, and can sell as much as it can to produce at a prevailing market price. So, with this we can understand that there are firstly large number of buyers and sellers, and due to large number of buyers and sellers, there is an influence in the market, and the single firm is only a small portion out of the total output. Next, we should be seeing about homogeneous product. Homogeneous product, the second condition is that the output produced by all the firms should be uniform and standardized in all respects. In such a case, it would be immaterial for the purchaser to know as to who has produced it. He would be able to buy from any seller in the market without any prejudices. Since the products are perfect substitutes for one another, the cross elasticity of demand is infinite. In these circumstances, if a firm raises its price, it will lose all the customers. No firm would like to lower the price below the prevailing level, as it can sell any quantity at the prevailing price. Since the price of the commodity remains constant at its prevailing level, all the units of the commodity must be sold at the same price. So, where in pure competition, we see homogeneous products which are sold at the same price, and the output produced by all the firms should be uniform and standardized in respect of quantity, quality, and other things. So this was about pure competition. Now let us understand something about perfect competition. Perfect competition is a wider term than pure competition. In addition to the above two conditions of pure competition, several other conditions must be fulfilled to make a market a perfectly competitive one. Usually, the term pure competition and perfect competition are used interchangeably. American economists prefer to use the term pure competition, while the term perfect competition is popular with the British economists, since in both cases sellers as well as buyers are price takers with no control over the prevailing market price. Further, the demand and supply curves of the firm as well as industry are similar in either situation. So, imperfect competition is a wider term than pure competition. And in addition to the above two conditions of pure competition, several other conditions also must be fulfilled to make a perfectly competitive one. Then the term perfect competition and pure competition are interchangeably used. American economists prefer to use the term pure competition, while perfect competition is morely used by British economists. So now let us understand about its features. Firstly, free entry and exit. There should be no restriction, legal, technical, technological, financial, or any other barriers to the entry of firms in the industry. Similarly, existing firms have freedom to quit in the industry. In this situation, all the firms will be making just normal profits. Normal profits is the opportunity cost of an entrepreneur, that is the minimum amount necessary to attract him to an activity or to induce him to remain in it. So first one which we have is free entry and exit. Every person who wants to come into the business can come, and whoever wants to leave can leave it according to their will. Then next we have, if the profit is more than normal supernormal profits, new firm will enter and the extra profit will be competed away. If on the other hand profit is less than normal losses, some firms will quit the industry, raising the profits to the normal level for the remaining firms. Thus, freedom of entry and exit maintains the profit at normal profit level. Next, perfect mobility of factors of production. Mobility of the factors of production enables the firms to adjust their supply to demand. If the demand exceeds price for the factor increases, and additional factors would be attracted into the industry. In this increase in supply would lower the price to the equilibrium level. On the other hand, when supply exceeds demand, prices fall. Some factors move out of the industry, and the fall in supply pulls up the price to the equilibrium level. Thus, mobility of factors of production is essential to enable the firm and industry to achieve an equilibrium position. So next is perfect mobility of factors of production. Now, the factors which we are considering it shall be the raw materials or any other thing which we are using. They shall be perfectly mobile. Means what? They can be moved from one place to another. Example, if a factory building is shifted from one location to another, then in that case all the production, everything should be able to be moved from one place to another. The raw material also should be available in the same cost, same quantity at the that place also. Next, perfect knowledge of market condition. Another assumption of perfect competition is that the buyers and sellers should be fully aware of the prices that are being offered and accepted. In case there is ignorance among the dealers, the same price cannot rule in the market for the same commodity. When the producers and customers have full knowledge of the prevailing price, no seller can sell at a higher price than the other, and no buyer can buy the output at a lower price than the other. Given the price, the producers can sell any amount and the buyers can buy as much as they like. So, the perfect knowledge of market conditions. If the prices of goods and commodities are same, so in that case, the person who is buying the goods shall have a similar rate of production, and similar rate in the market also shall prevail for all the other goods too. Now, after that we have absence of transport cost. If the same price is to rule in the market, it is necessary that no cost of transport is incurred, or if it is incurred, it should be the same for the entire market. This is because differences in cost of transport would result in different prices in different sectors of the market. Now next we have is absence of transport cost. So if the price is to rule in the market, it is necessary that no transport cost is incurred. If there is no transport cost, automatically the price of the product shall reduce with time. Then absence of government regulation. Now there is no restraint upon the independence of the buyer and the seller. Any type of government intervention into free interplay of market forces is assumed to be absent. Thus, the intervention of the government through tariffs, taxes, subsidies, duties is ruled out. In other words, of Professor Bolding, a perfect competitive market may be defined as a large number of buyers and sellers all engaged in the purchase and sale of identically similar who are in close contact with one another and who buy and sell freely among themselves. So next we have absence of government regulation. There is no restraint upon the independence of buyer and seller. Any type of government intervention into the interplay of market forces is assumed to be absent. Thus, the intervention of government through tariffs, taxes, subsidies, duties is ruled out. Next, perfect competition is an ideal concept rather than an actual market reality. To some extent, the perfect competitive model fits into the market for farm products like rice, cotton, wheat, etc. So, in perfect competition, it is rather an actual market reality there rather than other competitions which are going on in the market or in the theory which we study. So now let us understand more in detail about price and output determination under perfect competition, shape of the demand curve under perfect competition. Average revenue is the revenue per unit of the commodity sold. AR means price. The customer's demand curve is the graphic relation between price and the amount demanded. It also represents the AR or price at which the various amounts of the commodity are sold. Further, the price offered by the buyer is the revenue from the seller's point of view. Therefore, AR curve of the firm is the same thing as the demand curve of the consumer. In the case of perfect competition, the marginal revenue MR is also equal to AR price because additional units are sold at the same price. The seller under perfect competition can sell any amount of the commodity at the ruling market price. This is because no individual firm has the power to vary the market price. Since the number of firms is very large, besides the products are identical from the consumer's point of view, hence the price paid by them cannot be different. This is represented as follows. So in the diagram we can understand that in the above figure it is seen that the firm is a price taker, that is MR is equal to AR. So MR is equal to AR. So we are seeing that the demand curve AR is perfectly elastic at the price OP determined by market forces of demand and supply. The firm can sell as much as it can produce. So we can understand from this graph that how the AR curve and MR curve is equal to each other in the demand and supply. So this is about the industry's demand and supply. This is about the output of the firm. So the demand curve, that is price, goes equal in both the cases. Then next we have equilibrium of a firm. Equilibrium is in a firm is in equilibrium when it earns maximum profits. Total profits can be increased by expanding output as long as the addition to revenue resulting from the sale of extra unit of output is greater than the addition to cost caused by the producing and extra output. The addition to total revenue TR and total cost TC due to an extra unit of output are nothing else but MR and MC respectively. Thus, a firm goes on expanding output as long as the MR exceeds MC of production. The level of output where the MR and MC are equal is the point of maximum profit. This equality is necessary condition but not a sufficient condition of equilibrium. For attaining equilibrium, a second condition must also be satisfied, that is, the MC must cut the MR curve from below. In other words, beyond the equilibrium output, MC must be greater than MR. If this condition is not met, a firm will not be earning maximum profits and hence will not be in equilibrium. Thus, a firm to be in equilibrium position under any market condition, two conditions must be satisfied. That is, necessary condition is MC is equal to MR and sufficient condition MC curve must cut MR curve from below at equilibrium output. These two conditions hold good in the short run as well as in the long run. The only difference is that the short run is the short run MC curve and in the long run the MC curve is the long run MC curve, which is relevant for comparing with MR curve. Under perfect competition, a perfect firm is in equilibrium when the above two conditions are satisfied. This can be illustrated in the following diagram. So from the diagram we can understand that the MC curve, this MC curve cuts MR from below at equilibrium output. And the two conditions, both short and long run, is that the difference between the short run and the long run is different. In the above figure 2.2, the demand curve is represented. The demand curve is represented by the horizontal line parallel to the x-axis. The price at which the output is sold is OP. Then the demand curve AR also represents that MR curve at point T. At point T, MC is equal to MR, but MC cuts MR from above. Therefore, T cannot be a position of equilibrium. Expansion of output beyond ON would be profitable for the firm because the MC is lesser than MR. The firm would increase its output till the level ON. At this level, MC cuts the MR curve from below at point R. Here, the points would be maximum expansion of output beyond level ON would be unprofitable as MC is greater than MR. Hence, at point R, the two conditions, namely MC is equal to MR and MC curve cuts MR curve from below, are satisfied. So we from here we can understand that the equilibrium under perfect competition, how the curve and how the short run and long run curves are seen. So in the next class now we shall be starting with the short run equilibrium of a firm under perfect competition. I hope you have understood.